Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Can we start now for the agenda of listening to the invited speaker? Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Maisari Utami. As a host for today, I am from Department Chemistry, Universitas Islam Indonesia. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Room B of the Third International Conference on Chemistry, Chemical Process, and Engineering, or IC3PE. Organized by Department of Chemistry, Universitas Islam Indonesia, Department of Chemistry, Universitas Nusa Cendana, Department of Chemical Engineering, Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa, and Faculty of Engineering Technology, University College Tati, Malaysia. It is an honor to me to inform you that among of us here, we have two invited speakers. For the first invited speaker is Professor Dr. Ivandini Tribidasari Anggraniningrum from Department of Chemistry, Universitas Indonesia, and Mr. Sunardi PhD from Department of Chemistry, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat. It is okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, now let we open this session by reading Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Before we start to the main session, we will do photo session for our documentation. So I kindly request to all participants here to turn the video on. Okay. I'll start to screenshot. Please wait a moment. Stop. Okay. Okay. I'll start to screenshot. Well, please smile. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Next slide. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I think that's enough. Thank you for all participants. Okay, now we will move to the main session of this event, leading to leading by Mr. Leading by Mr. Pius Doreola, PhD, from Department of Chemistry, Universitas Nusa Cendana, as a moderator. For Mr. Pius Doreola, PhD, now screen is yours. Oh, sorry, Mr. Pius, you can unmute first the microphone. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Utami.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the invited speaker session. I am Pius Doreola from Nusa Cendana University. Will be moderate this session. We have two invited speaker for this session. The first invited speaker is Professor Dr. Ivandini Tribidasari Angraningrum from Universitas Indonesia. She received her doctoral degree at the University of Tokyo. Her research interests are mostly concerning electrochemistry of diamond and related carbons, sensors, and biosensors. Today, about electrochemical sensor and biosensors using modified boron doped diamond electrodes. This presentation will take about 15 minutes and 5 minutes remain will be used to answer the question from the participants. So I hope the participants please write your question on the chatting room. Professor Angraningrum, the time is yours.
Thank you for the chairman. So I can, okay. I want to share my slide. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay,
very
thank
clear.
you. Okay, thank you. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank to the committee for inviting me to this great symposium, and also to the chairman for the time given to me. My name is Ivandini from Universitas Indonesia. I want to share my research about preparation of modified boron doped diamond electrodes for electrochemical sensors and biosensors. So I have to introduce first my materials. So here is boron doped diamond. Basically, this is a synthetic diamond, which is doped by boron. So if originally diamond doesn't have conductivity, when we use boron as the impurity, it can have conductivity, then we can use as electrode. And here is in this picture, cyclic photomerism of diamond comparing to other electrodes like glassy carbon, platinum, and gold. We can see that if we run the current, we run the potential from very low potential to very high potential, we can get electrolysis of water here. This is reduction of water to be hydrogen. Here is oxidation of water to be oxygen. And between this potential, we can use to oxidize or reduce other materials. So diamond has the wider potential. Diamond has the wider potential in comparison with other electrode, and also it has a lower background current. Why we need low background current for sensors? Because generally low background current can provide very small noises also, then we can get better limit of detection. So we can see here diamond in comparison to other electrodes has low background current and wider potential region between water electrolysis. Diamond also, because it is sp3 materials, very compact and stable, and it's not easy to absorb materials. So it's non-absorbing electrodes and have high physical and chemical stability. But diamond has also disadvantage. For example, it has less catalytic activity in comparison with metal electrodes. For example, diamond cannot oxidize glucose and other carbohydrate, and also reduction of oxygen is also needs very high potential. But because diamond also very stable, it has high stability and chemical stability because actually it is diamond. Then configuration is sp3 and it's not easy to make chemical bonding with other materials. Then it is difficult to be modified. So what kind of diamond we use? Actually, this is synthetic diamond. We synthesize this diamond using chemical vapor deposition machine. So if we have a carbon source, generally we use methanol or methane, and we have hydrogen. So first we introduce the hydrogen into the room, the chamber. This hydrogen with high temperature and high pressure will make hydrogen plasma. And then if we introduce a carbon source like methane or methanol inside this, the carbon atoms will be excited and then again rearranged to form diamond. So if we put here substrate, for example, silicon, generally we use silicon, the diamond will be formed as film, polycrystalline film on the surface of silicon. And if in the carbon source we put a small amount of boron, we will have boron doped diamond. Here is the same image of boron doped diamond. As you can see, generally the particle size is 5 micrometers, and the thickness is about 5 micrometer also. And how we can characterize this boron doped diamond electrode? Generally we use Raman, because Raman can characterize sp3 bonding of carbon-carbon at 1300 something, and here we get the boron characterization around 500 and 1000. So this is the typical characterization by Raman. Then how we modify diamond? Actually, we can modify with physical adsorption or electrochemical deposition or ion implantation, and or photochemical reaction. Physical adsorption is the most simple one. Generally, we can just dropping solution onto the diamond surface and then dry or heat it if necessary. And but it produces very unstable films generally and easy to be removed from the surface of diamond. Before dropping solution, we can also do the pre-treatment. For example, give some modification first to the surface of diamond, or we can also cover with some films like Nafion on the surface of the particles. Generally, it can give longer stabilization. But yeah, although this method is claimed to be easy and cheap, however, without any chemical bonds or adsorption force between the particle and the surface of diamond, the surface is easy the modifying film will be easy to be removed. Here is the AFM image of some particles, ruthenium oxide, at the surface of diamond electrode. We can see it will form some particles on the surface of diamond. Next, we can also use electrochemical deposition. Electrochemical deposition is considered as a better technique than physical adsorption because we use interaction between the surface of diamond with the particle will be modified on the surface. And then this method can be controlled by using a fixed potential, then also convenient as we can use this method in room temperature without any requirement or expensive instruments. If we compare between unmodified diamond modification with physical adsorption and electrochemical deposition, we can see this in physical adsorption generally not homogeneous particle on the surface, but with electrochemical deposition distribution will be better. If we can see the process, how the deposition is conducted, if we have electrode and then we give negative potential, the energy of the electron will be increased, and if there is empty orbital in the solution, this electron will be transferred to the solution, and then reduction of the solution occurred. If this is, for example, metals, the reduction will form the metals, and the metals will be attracted to the electrode and deposited as on the surface of the electrode. But boron doped diamond actually has different conductivity because like this, the surface is not homogeneous, and in the border, between the border of the particles, generally there are some sp2 materials. The sp2 generally has a higher conductivity than sp3, so generally it can absorb some metals more than this surface. So this will be produced in homogeneous deposition and different size of the deposited particles. So of course, this is better than physical adsorption, but still we have disadvantage like this. With electrochemical deposition, we can use two kind of techniques, amperometry or cyclic voltammetry. What's the difference? Amperometry use a constant potential, while the cyclic voltammetry performed by scanning at a range of potential for some cycles. With more cycles, generally more particle will be deposited. So with deposited when reduction, and then after when oxidation step, it will be removed. But then after some cycles, there are some particles will be deposited. Here is the example of the surface of diamond with deposited with cyclic voltammetry method. Next, diamond is synthesized in hydrogen atmosphere, so generally it has hydrogen termination surface, and this is not good to attract some metal particles. if we can oxidize to be oxygen terminated, it will be better, because oxygen and metal has like some interaction, positive negative interaction, then the attraction will be better. How we can oxidize the surface? We can oxidize by using electrochemical oxidation. Of course, we put high potential oxidation on the surface of diamond, and this surface will be oxidized to be oxygen termination. We can also boiling in some in acid solution. It will be oxidized also. We can treatment in oxygen plasma. We put inside the oxygen plasma. We can heating in very high temperature also. It will be oxidized the surface of diamond. And can we change back this oxidized diamond to normal diamond or hydrogen termination diamond? Yes, we can annealing in hydrogen plasma. We put again inside the CVD machine, give hydrogen plasma, it will be hydrogen termination again. We can also do electrochemical reduction by stepping very negative potential. It will change some oxygen termination to be hydrogen termination. And to increase the stability, we can also use some other method. So first, change oxygen termination like the previous slide before electrodeposition. We can also do combination physical adsorption before electrodeposition method. It will give better distribution and also better stability. We can also annealing after deposition methods. So we put under with very high temperature. It will give some energy, and the rearrangement of the metals or the particles will be occurred, and then we can get better stability. So this is the test using ultrasonication. This is without annealing. Some particle will be removed after some ultrasonication, but with annealing, stability is much better than this. We can also modify 2 or more metals on the surface of diamond. Of course, we can use amperometric technique with the higher potential of between the 2 metals, but maybe it will be better if we deposit one by one. First, for example, here stannum and palladium. We can first modify with palladium and then stannum. So two types of deposition we can use. For example, amperometry first and followed by cyclic voltammetry, or vice versa. Next, this is the various metal deposition for various sensors with electrochemical deposition. Here is the last report. We found iridium, platinum, gold, nickel, silver, silver with graphene, bismuth, and this is the application for arsenic sensors, peroxide, neuraminidase sensor, arsenic and selenium, and other materials. This is also caffeine and paracetamol. The next is the ion implantation method. What is ion implantation? So ion implantation, actually, we use accelerator to shot one element into the materials. So with the accelerator with high energy, we can put the metals or particles under in subsurface of boron doped diamond. So because it will be deposited on the subsurface, the stability is better, will be much better than electrodeposition. But during the implantation process, actually the sp3 bonds will be damaged. Some sp3 bonds will be damaged. And for example here, this is the Raman spectroscopy of boron doped diamond before implantation. This is after implantation. We can see a peak here showing sp2. sp2. Why sp2 here? Because this process make some sp3 broken to be sp2. And then what we can do to recover this? We can give high energy in using annealing process to give this back to sp3. Here we put annealing in at 850 Celsius degree for 10 minutes. And then this is some example of metal modification with implantation methods for sensors. We find some reports for glucose and tetracycline sensors, hydrogen peroxide, and also arsenic and dopamine. This is the last one, the last method with photochemical reaction. So here, first, we modify the hydrogen termination surface to be nitrogen termination. Why nitrogen? Because nitrogen has better affinity to some metals like gold or platinum. So here we modify by using allylamine. This is the structure of allylamine. So we can see it has nitrogen.
Sorry, Prof. Sorry, Prof.
Yes.
You have 2 minutes remain. Thank you.
So we have a double bond here. By UV irradiation, these double bonds can be broken, and then one side here will be attached to diamond. Then we can get a nitrogen termination diamond. So how we can prove this reaction occur? We can use XPS to see here before the photochemical reaction without nitrogen. Here we will have some nitrogen, and after gold modification we will have gold here. And as the conclusion, so the inner surface of BDD resulted in less stability of the metal modification of boron doped diamond, and physical adsorption is the simplest method, but produce inhomogeneous deposition and also less stability. Electrochemical deposition will be better, but for distribution, but stability is also not good. Some pre or after treatment in electrochemical deposition can increase the stability. Ion implantation provide good stability, but the method is impractical because not everybody can provide the accelerator. Photochemical reaction will be promising with good stability and good distribution of the particles. And some of this research is helped by Enaga Laboratory, Hibah Putih Universitas Indonesia, and Hibah Ristek Dikti from Kementerian Pendidikan and Kebudayaan. And thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for your very interesting and information for us. And Until now, there is no question on the chatting room. So now we move to the next speaker. Once again, I want to remind the participant to write your question at the chatting room. And now we move to our next speaker. He is Dr. Sunardi. Dr. Sunardi received his doctoral degree from Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology, Japan. His research interests are mostly concerning biofuel, nanomaterial, and biomaterial. And today, Dr. Sunardi will talk an interesting topic, alginate starch microbeads as a slow-release urea fertilizer. As the same previous speaker, your time to present your paper is 15 minutes and 5 minutes for discussion.
Okay.
Dr. Sunardi, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ola. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for Committee of the Third International Conference on Chemistry, Chemical Process and Engineering from Universitas Islam Indonesia, Universitas Nusa Cendana, Universitas Sultan Agung Tirtayasa, and Universitas College Tati. My name is Sunardi. I came from Chemistry Department, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, and also from Wetland-Based Material Research Center, Lambung Mangkurat University. Today, I would like to share our research about alginate, kaolin starch microbead, as a slow-release urea fertilizer. But before begin to the topic presentation, I would like to introduce my university. My university is Universitas Lambung Mangkurat. The location is in South Kalimantan. Maybe this is the smallest province in the biggest island in Indonesia. And if you remember national television, RCTI, with tagline RCTI, okay, maybe you will remember South Kalimantan with the traditional floating market. We have 12 faculty and 1 graduate program. And actually, we have 3 campus, 2 campus in Banjarmasin and 2 campus in Banjarmasin and 1 campus in Banjarbaru. And the distance of the Banjarmasin and Banjarbaru is relatively far, about 40 kilometers. So it is difficult for us if we have even in one time at Banjarmasin or Banjarbaru in the same time. So we have vision to be a leading and competitive university in the field of wetland environment. Why we focus on wetland environment may be related with our research. We know that Indonesia is the second largest country with wetland area. The first is the Brazil, and Indonesia is the second, with the 22 million hectare of wetland. And Kalimantan, we have almost 6 million hectare of wetland. And this is the photograph of Sebango National Park in central Kalimantan, near our province. This is the largest peatland protected, more than 500,000 hectares. And this peatland forest is very famous, maybe last year, when Bajakah Isu, maybe you remember, Bajakah Isu, that's found in central Kalimantan, was claimed to be cancer medicine. And this is the source. And this is the peatland in South Kalimantan that have converted to be oil palm plantation. And this is the condition of wetland, the wetland in the original area. What is wetland? According to Ramsar Convention, wetland is area where the water almost always cover the soil. during a year. And peatland or swampland in the dominant in our province like that. So every year the soil always covered by the water, and we cannot do many things for this area. And the other issue is the forest and land fire or kebakaran hutan dan lahan. Fire in peatland relatively different with the fire in forest, because fire in peatland occurred in the below of the surface. So the fire, we cannot see the fire, but the fire can produce many smoke. So almost every year, we have set story for Indonesia, that is the smoke disaster, might be only in August until October. That is annually smoke disaster in Kalimantan and maybe Indonesia. And in this month, Indonesia to be famous country because to be exporter of smoke. Maybe Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore always protest to us. And this is the condition in the land fire. And this is the condition in the 8th morning in front of our house when the smoke disaster happened. So in the few distance only about 5 meters, and sometimes the smoke entrance to my house, and it is very dangerous for our health. And the second problem, agriculture on the peat is until now facing some difficulties, especially in soil fertility and the peat physical condition. The soil fertility of wetland is very low. They have nutrient deficiency because no mineral, no inorganic mineral, and the condition is low pH. The soil and the water pH is about 2 until 5. So a very limited plant or a plant can live and grow in the peatland. And the peat physical condition is very fragile because no clay, no inorganic mineral in our peatland. In 1997, Presiden Soeharto declared the program lahan gambut sejuta hektar, or maybe 1 million hektar peatland program to convert the peatland to be rice farming. And after 1 or 2 years, this program was stopped and finally failed. And now in 2020, Pak Jokowi also declared the similar program, program strategis nasional, to convert again Central Kalimantan or peatland to be a food estate or lumbung pangan, to be a rice farm in Indonesia. This is the ex-PLG now, and this is the photograph when Pak Jokowi launched the food estate in Central Kalimantan with his ministry, and we saw the background is a very green rice farming, but we don't know is it a sustain, because we have many problem in agriculture on wetland. Until now, peatland is still classified as marginal land, especially for agriculture, and cannot be utilized. And until now, also there is still no technological solution for solving the problem of agriculture in peatland, because this is the properties of peatland: fragile, irreversible drying. After we got long dry season, the water from the soil will lose, and the peatland cannot absorb again. So that is the peatland have a different properties. And this peatland also subsidence and nutrient deficiency and low pH. This photograph of pilot project rice plantation, rice farming in Jejangkit, South Kalimantan. They make a big canal to decrease the water to make the land can use for rice farming. And this is the vegetable farming in Banjarbaru by local people near Samsudin Nur Airport, acts of wetland. But in this farming, they need high cost because in the rainy season, they must put or they must supply the more fertilizer because of the flood of this area. But in the dry season, the farmer must flowering the vegetable using spraying 3 times a day. So it's very difficult, and that's why the vegetable in South Kalimantan is very expensive. We know that we apply the urea or nitrogen fertilizer about 30 until 70% of nutrient in a conventional fertilizer, powder or maybe granule. They are released into environment through reaction to biurease, volatilization, denitrification, and Sampach leaching, loss as nitrogen trioxide. And this condition is more severe in wetland agriculture. The efficiency of urea in the wetland is very low. To develop and to improve the efficiency of the urea application because of the volatilization, denitrification, and leaching, some researchers try to immobilize on a carrier material. So immobilize or encapsulation of urea on a carrier material. And for the wetland application, the properties of carrier material must have ability to water retention. Because in the dry season, the peatland cannot retain the water. In this research, we use alginate as a matrix polymer, natural polymer for the carrier material. Because this material is very have good biocompatibility, non-toxic, biodegradable, hydrophilic, and easy to modify the properties. But sodium alginate have poor solubilities, and their mechanical properties remain to be improved. And in this research, we use starch to improve the solubilities, and we use kaolin to improve the mechanical properties. So the aim of this research is to investigate the slow release formulation of urea fertilizer by using combination of alginate, starch, and kaolin. The resulting peat were then characterized, and to determine the potential of this material as a low-cost, slow release agent, especially for fertilizer for application in wetland agriculture. The method, the synthesis of microbead, we use extraction technique, the sodium alginate and urea in aqueous solution, added by starch, kaolin, or starch and kaolin, and mix solution and drop to calcium chloride as a cross-linking, then produce the peat alginate. And this is our formulation, alginate. P is a starch and K is a kaolin. So we modify the variation of the alginate, starch, and kaolin. And this is the characterization process, and this is the result. The photograph of synthesis with alginate, starch, and kaolin a bit. Addition of the starch not change the color of the beads, but the addition of the kaolin change the color from transparent to be a white and yellowish color. If we put kaolin and starch and kaolin, and this is alginate, this is alginate and starch, this is alginate kaolin, and this is alginate, starch, and kaolin. And this is the microbit color using Scilab methods. L is the darkness value, A is the reddish value, and B is the yellowish value. The different color based on the Scilab significantly change because of the addition, starch, and kaolin. This is the microbit size analysis in wet diameter and dry diameter. The addition of starch and kaolin change the wet diameter or dry diameter. This is the number, but not a significant difference. This is the picture of, this is the wet bit, and this is the dry bit. So the size is very different. This is the swelling ratio of our microbit. This is the important parameter for the water retention. The addition of cause the swelling ratio of our microbit increase, but the addition of kaolin cause the swelling ratio decrease. And the mix of starch and kaolin ratio. This is the FTIR spectra of alginate, alginate starch, alginate kaolin, and alginate starch and kaolin. Maybe not a significant difference, only a shift of the bit. And this is the urea entrapment efficiency. Actually, the addition of starch and kaolin not change the entrapment efficiency. Efficiency of the entrapment of urea on the alginate bit relatively same.
Sorry, Dr. Sunardi, you have 2 minutes remaining.
Okay, 2 slides again. 32 until 43%. So the entrapment efficiency is not a significant difference. But the slow release urea from microbit in water is relatively different when we add it and the starch or kaolin. Addition of the starch and kaolin can decrease the urea release in the water for 24 hours. This is the data. And the best composition of the smallest slow release of urea is on the when we add kaolin at 1.5%. And the conclusion, the addition of starch and kaolin significantly affect bit characteristic. However, the urea entrapment efficiency ranking were not significantly different, but the release of urea from the microbit alginate decreased by the addition of kaolin and starch. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sunardi, for your very nice presentation. I think that there is no question on the chatting room, so I'm not similar with this topic, but I have one question for Professor Anggraninum. What the difference between the natural diamond and synthetic diamond?
Okay, thank you for the question. So synthetic diamond generally bigger than synthetic diamond because by using CVD chemical vapor deposition machine, we can synthesize only about 5 millimeter thickness in 8 hours. So you can imagine if we want to make bigger diamond, we will need very long time to, for example, maybe 1 month just to get 1 carat of diamond. But actually, yeah, of course we can synthesize diamond, but in this case, my diamond is only polycrystalline film. So a film consists of small diamond crystal.
Thank you. Oh, there is the question from chatting room. Question for Dr. Sunardi. I am curious about the kinetic of urea release and for how long the operation of slow release fertilizer microbeads are supposed to be. Please, Dr. Sunardi.
Okay, the data of slow release urea, the experiment is released for 24 hours.
For 24 hours.
Yes, after 24 hours, we analyze the urea release in the filtrate.
Okay, thank you. And another question for Professor Angraningrum. Based on your previous explanation, the photochemical reaction method considered the best method for the inert surface BDD. Is this phenomenon applied in general for other inert surface? If it's not, what is the criteria for choosing the best method for surface modification? Please respond the question, Professor.
Okay, thank you for the question. So actually, diamond is the hardest material in the world because it's sp3 bonds. It's sp3 configuration. So it is difficult to modify with other materials. But for example, we always say that platinum or gold is also inert, but in comparison to diamond, platinum and gold is very easy to be modified because they are metals. If we use electrochemical deposition, we can reduce some metals onto the surface of platinum and gold very easy. So to modify a surface, actually we have to study what's the characteristic of the surface. In this case, if we use photochemical methods, maybe good for diamond, I'm sure it will be good for other materials also, but we don't need very difficult method if we can use easier method to modify some materials. I hope.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for Professor Angraningrum. I think that the time is up now, so we have to finish our session. Thank you very much for Professor Angraningrum and Dr. Sunardi. Thank you all for all participants. UII, Mbak Utami, please take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much for Mr. Pius Nureola as a moderator who has guided the main session, and also thank you very much for the two invited speakers for today. Okay. Yeah. For our appreciation to the two invited speakers as well as the moderator, we will give the certificate. This is for the first. It is to certify Professor Dr. Ivandini Tribidasari Angraningrum as invited speaker, and also this is to certify Mr. Sunardi PhD as an invited speaker for today. And the last, this is to certify Mr. Pius Doreola PhD as a moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all participants here for your active contribution. And I hope this session will improve our insight and knowledge, especially in the field of environment chemistry, environmental science, and analytical science. And we will close this session by reading Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
Alhamdulillah.
And for all participants, after this session, you may leave room B and please move to the main room. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Assalamualaikum
You are welcome.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
everyone. So some rooms already finished the session, and welcome back to the main room of Third International Conference on Chemistry, Chemical Process, and Engineering 2020. And we're still waiting for another participants and also another invited speakers who haven't finished the session in their breakout room. And we would like to inform you that after this, we will have and we will join for the awarding announcement and also listen and join together for the closing remarks by the chairperson of IC3PE, Professor Is Fatima. All right, so stay tuned in main room and don't leave the main room. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, while waiting for other participants who haven't finished the session in their breakout room, we would like to back and please to fill the evaluation in the link that has present in the chat box of the Zoom. So please, we appreciate for your participation and we would like to back to you to fill the evaluation.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're still waiting for another participants who haven't finished the session. On your screen. Once again, while waiting for another participants who haven't joined to our main Zoom, so please kindly fill the evaluation in the link of presented in your screen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we would like to